President Biden has wrapped his three-day trip to Poland up and Ukraine, and he's right now on his way back to Washington.
Before leaving, Mr. Biden met with Eastern European NATO allies known as the Bucharest Nine in Poland. They discussed Ukraine and being NATO's front line of defense against Russia. Meanwhile, China's top diplomat met with Russian President Vladimir Putin today. During that meeting, Putin said that the relationship between the two nations is, quote, reaching new milestones. So far, Beijing has remained neutral over the war in Ukraine.
Now, let's bring in CBS News chief foreign affairs correspondent and Face the Nation moderator, Margaret Brennan, who is in our Washington bureau with the ambassador of the European Union to the United States, Stavros Lambrinidis. Margaret?
Thank you so much, Lana and Errol. And I am here now with the ambassador. It's good to have you here in person.
Great to be here.
You know, Ambassador, one of the things you hear Ukraine ask for desperately is to be fast-tracked as an EU member, seeing some kind of level of security in being welcomed into this membership of 27 states. Is there any way of making an exception to fast-track it? Because it could take years.
Well, it could, and Ukraine knows that this is a merit-based process. It takes time. What is extremely impressive, to us at least in Europe, is how during a war they have been so effective in pushing many of the reforms that are required. So there's an opening of negotiations that is now to happen, and then, of course, there's a long process of negotiations themselves. I expect that given how quickly we were able to give Ukraine a candidacy status, so long as Ukraine moves on this path, the process will be faster than in other cases that you are recalling.
What do they have to do to meet that benchmark?
Well, they have to change the laws internally and their economic system and their institutions to make sure that they match what in the European Union we call the European acquis, and we do so that no one understands what we mean. but fundamentally, it is the same exact laws that every European member state has to change in its own country to become a member, and that allows for the creation of the single market, where there are absolutely no borders anymore for people, for goods, for services. So this takes time, and in the case of Ukraine in particular, there are also important structural changes that need to be made. The judiciary has to become stronger and more independent. Mm-hmm. They have to deal with the issue of corruption they have been so effectively addressing, even, as I said, in the middle of the war. So this is not an automatic process, but it's a very hopeful one in the case of Ukraine, given the difficulties and what they've achieved up to now.
You know, the EU has announced that there are plans to trigger a 10th round of sanctions on Russia. They're characterized as the toughest yet. What practical difference will it make? Because, sure, all of this has put pressure on the Kremlin, but it hasn't stopped Vladimir Putin's will to continue this fight.
Well, it was not going to stop his will anytime immediately, at any rate. No one thought that. But what it has done, it has thrown Russia's economy generations back, and this is something he can't recover from. It has diminished his revenues from energy dramatically. He gets about half the revenues he was making daily from selling oil and gas around the world. And so his war machine cannot be financed as easily. He's dipping in now, as we speak, more and more into his reserves. His people, some of these youngest, brightest people have left the country. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing now is also, having identified the weapons he uses on the ground in Ukraine, we will be blocking any export from the European Union to Russia that contains any of that tech or other elements that we've seen they use for those weapons. And this is the 10th package, as you mentioned, and you're right to say that. We've already imposed nine more. This has been a series of catastrophic miscalculations for Putin in the past year. And the biggest one he made is the assumption that because in Europe you need 27 leaders to unanimously agree sanctions, if one says no, you have no sanctions. He was sure he was going to find at least one person saying no. He failed to do it. He's still failing to do it. He's in a really, really deep hole that he frankly dug for himself.
Well, a D.C. think tank known as the Atlantic Council, you know them here in town, they have a tally of sanctions on Russia. Of the nearly 1,500 Russian entities sanctioned, 866 are sanctioned only by the United States. So the EU still has to catch up.
Oh, we are, I think, in terms of sanctions, in excellent coordination with the U.S. We have very different systems, trade systems and other systems, so we don't always apply the exact same sanctions. Mm-hmm. But the sanctions we have applied on Ukraine basically account for maybe 10 times already the total volume of trade between the U.S. and Russia itself. So there are massive sanctions that are hitting the European economy, as you can imagine, quite strongly. And nevertheless, we are doing this in unanimity and constantly.
So the concern when I spoke to the Secretary of State of this country recently was that China is now looking at possibly crossing over the line and providing lethal support, weapons, ammunition, other kind of things to Russia to continue its fight in Ukraine. There are so many financial ties between China and Europe. Are you concerned that just like you had to wean off Russian dependence, that now there's this separation that from China that needs to happen?
Well, there are tremendous economic ties between the U.S. and China as well.
And it's a political football here.
So I think we're both signaling to China very clearly that supplying lethal aid to Russia right now would be crossing a very, very dangerous red line. At the same time, I'll tell you two things.
What do you mean red line?
I mean that there will be consequences on China as well, that the Chinese government and economy at this stage would not like to have. They're in fact they're trying to be in a friendly offensive around the world, trying to tell people that they are in fact the power that doesn't use force, all the flowers bloom, all these things. This will be so tarnishing for China's reputation as well. But let me tell you something about China and Russia. The last thing that Putin would ever want or would have ever planned before this war would be to turn Russia into Xi's lapdog. That's exactly what he's doing. This is, from a geostrategic point of view, if you're a Russian citizen, catastrophic. Now, yes, Putin has a chokehold on the media in Russia. Yes, many of these things don't filter out that much, but this is real. And the second thing I will tell you is, if China is in fact considering giving more aid to Russia for this war, that tells you a lot about how terribly Putin has done in this war and how remarkable the Ukrainians have been in pushing him back.
Well, that's true, but it also shows he's not isolated, and potentially this could be a lifeline if the Chinese decide to do this. Secretary Blinken also said the U.S. is concerned about Russian meddling in Moldova. It's a small country nearby. Ukraine shares a border. They're a candidate to join the EU. They want to be a member. And their president says Moscow is trying to stop that and trying to destabilize. And there is concern now that this is opening a new front, potentially, in the conflict.
There's always been an issue with Moldova, of course, because Russia has always had its footprint in the country.
In Transnistria, that border area.
Always. It's a country that's been used to living with that threat.
But now a potential coup, according to their president.
Well, yes. The president has made it very clear that they're very prepared for all these scenarios, but frankly, so are we. Moldova, the first problem that it faced was a really debilitating blackmail from Russia when it comes to energy, because they're 100% relying on Russian energy. And the European Union has immediately given them what they need to be able to meet their needs without having Russia blackmail them. We have supplied the Moldovan military as well, doubled its size. It's not a big military, doubled its size in the past year because of European support. You can be assured that Moldova, as a candidate country, will not be left alone.
Does that mean the EU will sanction some of these Russian oligarchs who are being accused of plotting to destabilize the government?
We've done this already. I don't know. I don't have all the names in front of me, but we have sanctioned a huge number of them, thousands. There are going to be another 100+ people being sanctioned in the new package. We will not let up on them because they are part of Putin's war machine. They will have to pay, and Putin relies on them as well. It is a very toxic nexus in a supremely corrupt country, which is Putin's Russia. And if they feel consequences increasingly, so may Putin.
Iran is now also providing weapons to Russia. The Secretary of State said it's not just drones, and it's a two-way street, that fighter jets are being sold to Iran from Russia. I mean, this is a realignment. What's the consequence for Iran doing that?
Well, we are very concerned about this, of course, and I am personally, because a few years back we all worked very hard, including the Chinese and the Russians, by the way, to ensure that Iran moved away from its nuclear, bomb aspirations, and that was actually working until the deal that was in place got reneged. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Iran will be punished when it comes to its support to Ukraine, including through the new package of sanctions that we have put on the table as Europeans. So the Iranians will be caught in that as well. It is a line and it is a road that they may choose to continue going down, but it would be a huge mistake for them to do so. They're a country that can, if it decides to move in a peaceful direction, be not in the alliance of the authoritarian violators, although it's a country with such major issues domestically that we're not out of the woods with Iran. We have to work to make sure that the repression ends. But it's put now itself in that camp, and it is going to have to face the consequences, I'm afraid.
Ambassador, it's good to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
Errol and Lana, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Margaret Brennan, thank you very much.